Hello and welcome to another Man on the Run Productions tutorial for the Road Less Traveled series. My name is Patrick Barrett. I'm the executive producer for the Road Less Traveled series, and I also did the special effects here. So today we're going to continue on with Road Less Traveled 3. There's a scene near the beginning where Damien Locke, played by Joe Holt, is shot in the hand with a gun, and he bends over to look at the damage and we watch it heal. So we're basically going to be taking this footage here, Joe looking at the hand, pulling it together, and we're going to turn around and make it look something like this, where we have all that damage slowly pulling together and bruising, and then it all disappears. So let's go ahead and get started here with the original footage. So the basic footage we have here, I'm going to go to the first frame that actually shows up, and we're going to be doing something called tracking. And that's where you pick 1 or 2 points to either stabilize your footage to take shakiness out, or to track something so you can apply that same movement to other elements, in this case the cuts and damage to the hand and bruising and so on. So we can do this 2 different ways. You can right click on the footage you're tracking and go track motion, or we can come up here and go Windows and Tracker. Now that brings up this little window over here where we have track and stabilize motion. So I'm going to pick track motion. I know the track type is actually stabilized. That's a little confusing there. And that setting there now gives us the ability to pick the position on the screen as well as the rotation, which gives us a second tracking point. You can also pick scale, but in this matter the hand is not moving in and out, so it doesn't matter nearly as much. So the position and rotation gives me 2 points, and what I have to do is take the individual points and I want to find a place of high contrast. So like I have this little spot down here. We got to make it somewhere where its finger's not going to hit. And the second point, I'm going to take it and we're going to move it up here near where his other hand is touching, so we have that high point. Now each of these brackets is, depending on how fast you are, you want to make them larger. So if there's fast movement, it knows to be able to predict where that spot should be. If it's slow movement, you can make it a slower box. A fast movement, bigger box, makes it actually take a lot longer to process. So I'm going to pick these 2 spots here, and then we can slowly use this analyze frame forward to go 1 frame at a time, but I'm going to go ahead and just analyze forward by clicking this little play button. And as you see here, it's going to move around and find the different pieces, and then it fails at the end right when he closes his hand. Now I'm going to go back and show you exactly what it's doing there. See how it's moving with the points I picked with the hand. It's a little off. That's because, as you see, Joe's moving his wrist up and down here, but it's pretty close. Most footage, you wanna try to plan that ahead. We unfortunately did not for this particular scene. I was not on set. I was not even in the state when this was being filmed, and we weren't exactly sure what we were going to do with the effect. So Joe moved around a lot, and that can make your job a little bit harder on the effects side. So for this example, I'm just going to use this first track. I think I tracked it about 50 times originally when I made this effect, but let's see how close we actually get here. Now that we actually have that tracking data of these 2 points moving, we want to apply them to our effects. The easiest way to do this is if I actually come into this footage and I do a layer, new, null object. And what that means is it's basically an empty object. It's null. There's nothing to it. And we can apply certain effects to it and then link the other effect files to it, and they kind of become a child to the parent. That way you don't have to turn around and apply the effect to every single element. And that also makes it a lot easier, because if you need to change anything, instead of going through and changing it in 20 different places and possibly missing one and messing something up, you just change it in the one spot and it automatically works for everything else. So now that we actually have this, we're going to turn around and change this stabilize back to transform. We're going to click on edit target, select that null 4 that we just created, click OK, and click Apply, which will give us a little pop-up here. We're going to apply the dimensions to both X and Y axis, click OK. Now, what that actually does is we take a look at this null object. It now has its position and its rotation keyframes set up here to match the movement that we just tracked. So if I actually go through this movement, you'll see that the null object is moving with the hand, up and down, and rotating with the hand itself. Now it's not perfect at the end because he closes his hand, but that's perfectly fine. But it's a nice little movement there. So now that we actually have the null object, the next step to move on is actually start creating the effect of the blowout of the hand from the gunshot. So I'm going to come over here and go to my stills. Create this new texture here, and this is the texture borrowed from videocopilot.net. Again, I know I've been talking quite a bit about them, but they have some great tutorials, which is actually what this is partially based off of, as well as different effects packages, and an image like this is included in one of them. So what this texture is just looks like broken paint that's on a wall, and it has one particular look to it that I really like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the opacity here, so I can kind of line things up. And there's this little look I like right here that looks like the gunshot wound to the hand. So I'm going to line it up roughly with the hand right here. I'm going to bring that opacity back up, and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to pre-compose this. So if I go Layer, Pre-compose, and I'm going to have this as the damage layer. I'm going to move all attributes into there, and what that does is create a new composition that I can go into now and apply different things to. So if I double click on it, I open it up, and you'll see it's just that one particular image. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to copy both the null object and the handheld footage. I'm going to dump those in here as well. Putting the texture on top, I'm going to hide the null object because we just need to reference it. We don't need it. And then I'm going to do something that we did last time. Here's right click and go guide layer. What that means is now it won't actually show up whenever I pre-compose it in other layers. The next thing to do on top of that with the texture layer is to add a new white layer background. So layer, new, solid, and we're going to create a nice white background and put that right below the texture. I'm going to hit F4 to bring up my track mat and modes, and I'm going to click on the track mat and go to Luma inverted mat for texture. And what that does now is take the texture map and apply it to the white so I can cut everything out, and I'm going to use that basically as a map to put everything in there. The next step is to actually cut out the piece that we want. So if I come in here and create a nice little mask around that cut I like. Now let's see if I zoom in. Now we have roughly where that cut is. We can take those, kind of move them up here. See roughly where we like them, and then we're going to take and do a curves effect. And as I apply it to the texture here, you see that all those will slowly disappear on the edges, and we'll get those that nice cut look. Get a little bit of that blood. Line up, roughly right around there. Let's take out a little bit more. The next thing we do is it's got some spots in there I don't want showing up, so I can actually move this map around to kind of cut into it. A little bloody. We can also come in here in the mask that we created, just feather out the edges a little bit, so it's not a hard cut off. There we have this nice looking cut here in the hand. So now that we've done all of that, we want to pre-compose this one more time, going layer, pre-compose, and this is going to be the map. And now that we have this data to track the movement on, we're going to use this little pickwick button and apply it to the map. What that means is the map will use the null objects reference information to actually move with it. So if I now move through this footage, you'll see, oh, what am I doing here? Other way around. Map to the null object. I did it backwards here. So there we go. So if I go to this, it's not moving at all because we don't have any data until we go to the first frame. First frame out there. Now if I move forward, you see it moves with the hand. It rotates up and down. Now, like I said, yeah, there's a little extra movement there on the hand that I don't really like. We'll have to do minor tweaks with that, but you do that just by redoing your tracking over and over. But for this purposes, we're going to leave it as is. So now we have the damage. The damage is now put within here. Oh, let's get rid of this null. And we go back to the pre-composed damage. Now it shows up in our main composition. Has everything in there. So the next step is to make this look somewhat three-dimensional. To do that, we're gonna come over here and grab an effect that's called glass, CC glass. We're gonna apply it to the footage, not to the damage. As you see, it kind of blows out the footage the way that it looks here. It's actually kind of an interesting look. But we're gonna take this now and instead apply an effect to where we use damage footage. So now we just have that damage blowing out. We're going to take the property and change it to alpha. Our softness for this, we're actually going to drop it down quite a bit to about 2.5. And let's see, our height, we're going to lower that right around 1.8. Looks about good for me. And then the displacement, we're going to drop it down to maybe 50. No, let's bring it up a little, like 65. The next section here is light. So we have the intensity, I'm going to drop to about 84. The height, we're going to come down to about 60, to 30, yeah, 32. And the direction, let's see what looks good. What we're doing here is trying to create a shadow, because we have the sun coming up from the upper left of the screen. It's behind Joe's shoulder. So we want the shadow on here to be roughly the same, which looks good right around there. 192 is where I think we'll keep it. So the last setting is going to be shading. So we're going to bring it up just a little. Yeah, that'll bring it out. We'll up the roughness to about 8. There we go. And the metal we can leave as is. So now if I actually take this damage footage away, which right now is just that white, and we look, it's using the damage layer to sink into the skin in 3 dimensions, and it gives a light little shadow. So because the sun is coming from over here, we have a little shadow in these deep cuts. And we don't so much on these far ends. But now that we actually add the damage back in, now we have that filled in with color. So that's our next step here, is to make the damage. So we're going to take a fill effect and generate fill on the damage. And we'll do a nice dark red. Let's come in here and make it a little darker. Okay, maybe too dark. We'll darken it up. So now the white has been replaced, and as you see, there's a little bit of skin coming through, some nice little damage there. So outside of a fill, we probably want to drop the damage down. Let's see if we can do this like a 65. No, it's about 75%. So now we have 75% damage on that, and we have a nice little bit of damage in here. I'm going to go ahead and go edit, and we're going to duplicate that layer out on top again. And to this extra layer, we're going to kind of spread out the damage, make it look a little more dirty, basically. Because when it looks this clean, it looks even faker. It's harder to trick the eye here. So for this first one, we're going to create and put on some blurs. Let's do a fast blur. And so let's see, fast blur, we're going to do horizontal and vertical, so it goes both ways. And let's see what would work good here. A little higher. There we go. About 19. There we go. Some nice fading going on. Then let's maybe add a Gaussian blur. That'll work. And we'll put something roughly the same, maybe. Kind of tweak it out. Yeah, so about 14 looks good there. Then we can do a few other things for color correction, darkening up. We'll take curves and actually drop that in there. So you can lighten it, or we're gonna darken it up on the edges. Make it look a little more bloody. This other damage, let's go ahead and put a fast blur back on that too, just so it's not as clean. We'll just do like, I don't know, 5, 3, no, 1. Yeah, let's do like half a 1. There we go. That looks decent. It's decent. It's a start. So once we have all of that, the next step is to actually make the healing happen. So I'm going to turn around and jump back to the damage, and we're going to go to that main map that we have. We're going to apply an effect called choker. Simple choker. Here we go. So I'm going to apply simple choker to the map. We're going to come here to the beginning, and we're going to create a keyframe. So let's actually open up this effect choker. I'm going to come down to right when he closes the hand up. So we want it gone right around there. So we're going to create another keyframe. And this is where we'll put the choker out until it's pretty much gone. Disappears right around 20. But now it's not always a perfect science here because of the way this works. So as I start here, you'll notice it heals kind of funky. It goes a little too fast and then it goes a little too slow. So we probably want to bring this in a little, and we'll create another keyframe. And now we can move this to slow down or speed up certain sections. So like that section goes too fast, but I'll probably move this over here. So as it heals, we'll bring that in. Probably create another one. Let's see. Slow it down right here. Still make it a little bigger. So it heal the large chunks, pull itself in, and seal up. So now this is actually the reason we turn around and do this in layers and we pre-compose on top, so that I can make all sorts of changes if need be, and I only have to do this one time. So now that I've done the choker on this damage section, if I come into the footage, the bump map here for the glass is hooked up to the damage, and the damage that we just did both the effects on are hooked up all to the same. So now as I come through here, we'll watch all of it heal together, and the bump map will slowly disappear and heal up and curl into a nice little piece. It's gone. So that's the basic piece of it. The next little thing that we could do to make it a little nicer is we can change and color correct it. We could change and tweak around the reds and other things like that. We can add in a new layer, solid. We'll get like a dark blue. And we'll put this, let's see, on top of the damage. That's fine. We're going to put the transparency of this and drop it below, pretty low. Maybe 40? No, let's go even lower, 30. And what we'll do here is turn around, and on that blue layer, we'll make a couple masks. I'll do another one over here. And we'll move these puppies around a little bit. Now that's a little too purple, so let's actually go to the solid settings and make this a little darker blue. That's a little better. Then we're going to take those masks and we're going to bump up the feathering on them. They kind of fade out. There we go. So we get this nice look to it. Then the next thing we're going to do is go into the opacity of this and say it's going to start right around here. We'll stay at a 33, and by the time we get to here, I'm going to drop it down to 0. Oh, let's see, no, maybe not. A little blue, and here, drop it to 0. There we go. Now we have those 3 keyframes from that. Now the next part is to turn around and we'll pick whip this up to our null object, and that will make it so that this blue will track and move with it as well, to make it look like bruising, and the bruising is slowly healing. So now if we actually come back to this cut here, I now need to line this up, which I probably should have done first off, but there we go. Line it up, and now it moves with the hand, and it slowly fades away, and voila, it's done. So there's a few other things you could do. You could tweak the way that it works, change, if let's say this cut doesn't work right for you, you can go into the damage, you can open the map up, you can take the actual texture that we have here, and you can move it around in there. And let's say you want to do something that looks more like that. If I come back over to this footage, that's how it'll actually look like that now. Now, that's not a perfect example, but you get the idea. We can put a big jagged cut. Whenever I come in here, it's a slice, it's a knife cut in the hand, and so on. So going back to my original footage, this is where I have a whole set of things coming in. So I have my bruising, my tracking. I have multiple sets of the footage that are just cut for edit purposes. I also I made this a little darker. I made a less bruising in it. The movement's tracked a little better, shadow and everything, the healing up. And then what we can do is cut it out to the entire scene, where we actually add in gunshots, blood splatters, and total hand movements. So, gunshot, damage, blood splatter, heal, bruising goes away, it's gone, voila. And done. So that was the rough way of having someone damaged by a gunshot, and watch the hand heal. So if you have any questions, comments, or any other effects from the Rolo's Traveled series you'd like me to show, please let me know. Thanks again.